And what am I doing? Who sent me up here, huh? Who sent me up here to stress out myself? Then I talk back to myself. I said, me send me. Me send me up here. I don't know why, but me send me.
We may look different and live in different countries, yet our stories are knitted with the same threads of excitement, uncertainties, challenges, and victories. As we journey through the ups and downs of life, it is our undeniable will and God's strength that propel us to joy after pain, smile after frowns, and ups after downs. We were born to win. We were destined to greatness. We are overcomers. Welcome to GodScoop's raw and unedited stories. Welcome to Raw and Unedited Stories, the place where stories are told to uplift, encourage, and brighten your day. Now, if you have not subscribed to our channel, now is the time to do so. Subscribe and click the notification bell. Yes, with us today is a special woman, and according to her, your nose has to run some snot before you can reach that goal. Hi, Lisi, how are you?
I am good. And how are you? I'm blessed.
I am great. Welcome to our platform, Raw and Unedited Stories. And I know our audience can't wait to hear this pilot story. Now, Lisi, tell our audience a little bit about yourself before we begin.
Okay, so I am Lesi. I was born here in the States as a first generation born to Jamaican parents. They hail from the lovely parish of St. James, Montego Bay, Salt Spring area to be exact. They migrated here in the 60s and they gave birth to four beautiful girls, and I am the first of four girls. Growing up, I always wanted to be a doctor, so you could say I was pre med. When I went on to Stony Brook, that is pretty much where my field of study was going. And then at some point, I kind of diverted off and then became a flight attendant. So I worked for a flight attendant for a major carrier. And this began in 2000. At that time, they had a program that if you were minority or you were female and you had a college degree and you were interested in being a pilot, they had a program that if you applied and you were accepted, they would send you to a school in Michigan to get all your flight ratings and training done within 12 months. And then you would go work for their regional airline. And then after you accumulate a certain amount of hours, you would come back to mainline, to the main carrier, the legacy carrier. So, in the process of applying for that, 9/11 happened. So, needless to say, that program was no more. My interest was sparked when I was able to take off and land in the cockpit. Those days, travel was a bit freer. Guests from the main cabin could come up and say, I want to see the cockpit. I want to see the pilots when they're flying. And like, ooh. So those days, of course, obviously many things have changed since 9/11. That door is not open during flight unless they come out for the bathroom and et cetera, et cetera. So the fact that I was able to take off and land in the cockpit, it sparked an interest in me, like, you know what, I think I can do this. This is like exciting, this is something I would like to try. So I squashed that because at the time when my daughter, now growing up, she decided, hey, I want to be a pilot. I want to be a pilot. So me at that time, I'm in my 30s. Let me see, what year was that? My daughter graduated from high school probably 2012, I'd like to say. And she's like, I want to be a pilot. So freshman year, I sent her to Embry-Riddle. That is a very expensive aviation university. And the sacrifice had to come. It's like, well, we both can't be pilots. I couldn't be selfish. I had to tell myself, you know what? Your time has come and gone. You had all the time in the world to be a pilot if you wanted to be a pilot. Your child is going to college now, so it's her turn. So, you just kind of put all this aside. And pretty much I just said, you know what? It is what it is.
Yes.
Anyway, upon the urgings of the pilot, because I always like to network and talk to people. I'm like, hey, my daughter wants to be a pilot. Of course, I would talk to the pilots, and they're like, your daughter should join the military. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want my baby to join the military. But she joined the Air National Guard, so she's in the Air Force. And for whatever reason, when she went there, what she wanted to do with planes, they end up training her in IT, so client systems. So that being said, now she kind of got comfortable with that. So she's like, oh, I don't have to be a pilot anymore. For whatever reason, it was still tinkering in the background, like, it would be nice to fly, but I can't. How can I fly? I have children now. I'm married.
Yeah.
I'm a certain age. And usually, right now, commercial pilots have to retire at 65. So it's just like, I don't know. So anyway, let's fast forward to COVID times. Uh, at the time, no one knew what COVID was. You're just being scared. Everybody's dying,
Yeah.
and all the airlines are struggling now. And our airline asked us, hey, we're offering you leaves. Would you guys please take a leave? It's going to help us if people take more leaves.
Yes.
And I said to myself, okay. And me being asthmatic, so, they already say your lungs are compromised. So, you're scared. Oh, God,
So,
COVID are going to kill me.
Lisi,
Uh-huh.
I just realized that you just started your story, which is awesome. I don't even have to tell you to start your story. You just plunge right in, and that's awesome. I'm thinking about 9/11. When at first I can't imagine how fearful you must have
Listen,
been. And did you change course because of that fear and what was happening in that era?
no, because I didn't even make a year at my airline when it occurred. And on top of that, I live in the city, right? And the ironic thing is, I was supposed to go to JFK that day in the afternoon for a meeting. And then I had people calling me and waking me up. Oh my gosh, a plane just, are you? I'm like, no, I'm not flying today. What's going on? I couldn't understand. And they're like, well, a plane just flew into the side of the building. And I'm saying, well, I've taken off and landed in the cockpit, so I can't understand. And I look out the window, it's a clear day. Like, I'm sure they saw the building. It's not like they're going to put it on autopilot and be like, well, autopilot is telling us there's no building. Let's proceed. And there's a building in front of them. I'm like, this is very strange. So at the
Right.
time, I knew my family would be worried. So I straight away started making calls. Like, listen, I'm just letting you guys know something happened. I don't know what's going on. And I remember my mother distinctly asking, I wonder if it's a terrorist attack. I'm like, Mother, don't be crazy. It's not a terrorist attack. And then, same time while we're talking, the second plane went through and it was like, oh Lord. So then there was pandemonium. And
Yes.
my neighborhood where I lived, literally, I'm in the city, like 2 blocks from my house is where they blocked off traffic to all motor vehicles. And you couldn't go downtown. I had friends who walked to my house. I could smell smoke in my apartment. I locked the windows. I was still smelling the burning. I still have pictures that I took on 9/11 where I went up to the roof and you see the plumes of smoke. And like,
You're saying you're smelling smoke, you're seeing smoke, so that means you were in Manhattan, in the
yes,
art of
I
Manhattan.
live in Manhattan, but I live on the Upper East Side. And this is
Yeah.
taking place downtown, but you can see it. You're getting the smell for months on end, the
Mm-hmm.
burning.
Mm-hmm.
And even when all the airlines came to a screeching halt, which luckily I was home because there was people trapped, either they out of the country because no planes were let out or in because the airspace was
Mm-hmm.
locked down.
Mm-hmm.
I had friends who worked in the city who walked to my house because there was no transportation running.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Praying, like walking over the bridge to Queens, hoping their spouse can pick them up from Long Island. It was pandemonium. People who
Yes.
didn't have, they're in heels, and it was something else. It's something definitely I will not forget. And I kept
Mm-hmm.
crying, thinking to myself, "Oh my God, imagine all these people who are gonna have to get this call. Oh, your loved one didn't make it." Not realizing the magnitude of what took place. That people were instead going to be looking for their people. No one was giving them a call. People were looking for their people. Have you seen this person? The city. When I tell you, New York City was so quiet. What we think is quiet here in the city usually consists of background noise, taxis, people
Yeah.
yelling, who's cussing at one another, loud music going by in a car. When I said you can hear a pin drop, I felt like when I was here, I felt like I was in Jamaica, but not even crickets you heard, nothing. Like it
Yes.
was dead silence. It was very eerie.
I
People were
remember.
talking,
Yes.
people were
I
talking to
remember,
each
Lisa. I remember. I remember what it was like. Yeah. And in that period, you were thinking of becoming a pilot.
hmm
What caused you not to change your mind? And let's talk about that journey into your career?
Well, funny enough, like, my job at the time was saying, listen, if you're not comfortable coming back to work due to what happened, we give you as much time as you need. However, in my case, I, for whatever reason, felt brave enough to go back to work, a little unsettled because I would replay, as crewmates, you're trained to do certain things in such events where you have people who want to take over the plane, and to know that they probably did what they were trained to do, but this was a new generation of terrorists and hijackers. Their life, they didn't care about their life. So that kind of changed the whole narrative in how you deal with these people. There was a time you wouldn't think people were going to tackle anybody and stuff like that, but
Mm-hmm.
it's now a life and death thing. And I never forget when I first started working a flight. Now, granted, people were not traveling. There was 2 people on the plane, 3 people on the plane. I mean, those time you're getting meals, little short DC to New York, you're getting a hot meal. Those is unheard of now.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody was suspicious of everybody. If they had those Middle Eastern type garments on, I'm suspicious.
Yes,
Everybody's watching that person.
yes, yes.
And
Absolutely.
the most eerie thing, I think, at that time for me is anytime we'd come back into New York, especially if it was at night,
Mm,
because you would be flying over the World Trade Center, and it just looked like when you have extracted a tooth and just the empty gum is there. You
mm-hmm.
saw where you could still see the smoke coming up. You could still see people. You wouldn't see the people, but you would see the activity. Something is going on there because now they're cleaning up and they're searching, and it was a lot, and it was very somber when people would fly over.
Mm-hmm.
But in either case, you have time to either decide this is a career for you or it's not, because every time you go up, there's that inherent risk.
Yes.
And I am a person who I like to pray anytime I go up and I go down. I never take for granted this plane is getting down in one piece.
So, Lisi, talk to us about that statement about making sacrifice for good.
Okay, so as far as making sacrifices, again, like I said, my daughter wanted to be a pilot at that time. And of course, the idea was like, you 2 of us cannot be pilots. She still veered off the path. But then now you have to realize, then came along 2 more kids. So I have a total of 3 kids. The time that you need to dedicate to your kids, rearing the kids, you're juggling that with working outside of the home. There was no way I can add flight at that time. It would have been too much. And then I was thinking of the costs. That is another hindrance for people to enter the field because it is extremely expensive. I will say that. Um, and even when you think of the Black female population, less than 1% of the pilot population consists of Black females.
Mm-hmm.
So to keep that in mind. Females is a small group. Black females, I think females in general might be 7%. Black females, less than 1%. And all the while, I had been flying at my airline for 22 years. I hadn't seen a Black female pilot probably until earlier this year. I think I was going back to flight school and I saw one. It was like seeing a unicorn. I literally ran down the airport like, hello, hello, my God. I can't believe, oh.
Amazing.
But
Yes.
to go back to the story now, so now here came the pandemic, and our job was like begging us, please take leaves. They're trying to think of ways that they can cut and chop the excess fat without furloughing people or laying people off or anything like that. And I said to myself, I said, you know what? I'm going to take the leave. And what I'll probably do, I think I'll use that time to go to flight school. I've always wanted to go to flight school. It's the perfect opportunity. I'll have the time off. I'll come back to work. And lo and behold, when that leave began, once my kids were out of school in June, I took my first lesson in July. I
Mm-hmm.
took that first lesson, and then I would say October 1st, I have my private pilot's license, right? But even the story of me getting to the flight school, this is where I say God intervened. God like really stepped in, because I knew I was going to go down to this flight school in Ohio during that time, because I knew the kids would be with my family, so I don't have to worry about them. I'm just going to
Mhm.
relocate to Ohio and get it done because it was reasonable. I called some people who I know down there, like, no, you can't come right now. We're booked, we're full. And I'm just like, but this was my plan. I had planned to come down during this leave. So what do you
Mhm.
mean I can't come? I can't put this like when I say that urge and that burn, like I have to listen to God's voice. And up to now, I'm saying to myself, like, God, what do you have planned? Because I feel like you pushing me in this direction. What am I going to carry? Missionaries? Like what exactly? Like the way God set things up. So anyway, the person like, no, you can't come. So anyway, we have a book like how Christians would have a Bible. Pilots would have something called the FAR AIM, which is the FAA regulations book. So it's a book full of all these regulations, the do's, the don'ts, how to maintain your license, what you can do, what you can't do, etc., etc. I had already purchased one, but then this girl on one of these Facebook pages I was in was selling it. So I said, you know what? I looked, I said, oh, she's a black girl. Maybe she's doing it to, raise funds for her pilot training. So you know what? I already have one, but I'm going to support her. So let me buy this tabbed book. So it's kind of think of your Bible with tabs. You can find Isaiah quicker because there's a tab. There's a tab
Yeah.
for everything in your Bible. So that essentially was the book. Bought it from her. And of course, something tell me to fast. Let me go to her page. So I look, oh, she's Jamaican? Oh no, we have to be friends.
You said fast
So
or inquisitive, right?
you have to be inquisitive. There you go. We have to investigate further. That's the word I should have said. We had to investigate. So realize she's Jamaican. I was like, no, I have to friend her. So I'm talking to her. I was like, oh my goodness, you never believe. I said, wow, this is interesting. You're Jamaican, I'm Jamaican, and we're black females. Like you kind of want to, you kind of cling to
Yes.
people who's kind of in your situation. So I said to her, yeah, I'm trying to go to this flight school in Ohio, and I have to get my. She's like, Ohio? I said, Sky Park. Oh my God. She's like, yeah, I'm trying to go to Sky Park too. I'm like, yeah, because I'm determined. I want to get my private pilot's license before my birthday. And she's like, yeah, me too. I said, my birthday's August 10th. She's like, me too. I was like, what? Your birthday is August 10th
Wow. Wow.
too? So then we determined, we're like, okay, we're gonna go to Ohio. But I said, so and so said he don't have space. He said, oh, she said, I think I know an instructor. Find an instructor. Then the instructor says, I know somewhere where you can stay. Because we was thinking, where are we gonna stay? Maybe we just have to drive the car. Because the flight school had a place where you could stay, but it was all booked out. They had a shower. We was like, well, we'll just sleep in the car. We're gonna get this done by any means necessary. We'll take a shower. God provided us such a nice place right next door to the school, honey. When I tell you, God is, and then she's a believer too. So
Wow.
we would pray together. I'm like, Lord, what are
He's
you really up
lining you
to?
up, right? He lined
When
you
I
up.
say, God, what do you, and then like we both lived in the same house, right? Because we shared the space and we each paid our little bit of money that we paid to stay there. And it was like we could study together, we could pray together. I felt like our section was the big people section because that was the kids next door. None of them people had kids. She had a child, I had a child, married, and it was just like, God, it don't get no better than this. And then next thing you know, I zoomed through it. I got the private. I'm working on instrument. I wanted to stay a little longer, but Delta was like, it's time to come back to work. I'm like, what?
Yes.
So here I am working on this rating, and it's just gotten expensive. And I say to you, I joined an organization called Sisters of the Skies. Well, I'm in their mentee program, I should say. And their goal is to increase the numbers of women of color in aviation.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went to their scholarship gala, which was earlier this year, because I did apply for their scholarship, when I went to their gala, I had like to see all these black female pilots because they go to the gala in their uniform. To
Awesome.
see a room full of black female pilots, all in, it was just like
Awesome. Yeah.
when I tell you that's empowering, it
Mm-hmm.
is very empowering. And their thing is like, girls, because a lot of us there, either we're private pilot or we're just working our way to get in their position. Most of them people, some of them have been in an all black female crew. Some of them is the first African American female pilot. And I mean, there's a lot of firsts there because our numbers are so small to begin with. So they're like, you ladies look lovely in your gowns and all, but our goal is to have you guys attend in your uniform. Because when you're actual, like you work for somebody like a United or American or a Delta, or maybe you're in the military, a military pilot, UPS, FedEx, they go to the gala in their pilot uniform.
Do
So
you
their
know
goal.
do you know what is so powerful about your story is today people are led to believe once you pass 30 it's over. Once you pass 40 it's over. Once you get to 50 it's done.
Let me tell you
So you
something.
have had your children, you have had another career, and you have walked into this powerful newness. Talk to us about that.
Now, going back to the gala, I met people who have followed my journey on Instagram. On Instagram is Diva the 876 Aviatrix. So I have people come up to me and say, listen, I just wanted to tell you, I have been following your journey on Instagram and you have inspired me. Because there's no secret. I don't have a secret to tell the world. I'm 54 years old. Okay. You have to retire at 65. I
Is
always joke to the pilots when I see them. I say, by the time I get to this cockpit, it's gonna be like last call, last call. Y'all gonna be flashing the light and telling me, it's time to go home. I'm like, I just got here. What are you talking about? I tell people at the end of the day, you're living, you have breath in your body, time's still gonna pass.
Amen.
Time's still gonna pass, right? So what are you concerned about? If this is what you feel that you would like to do, then by all means do it. Don't let your age deter you. I have a lot of people say, I thought I was too old, and then I saw your story and you just inspired me. I decided. I said, yes, what's to stop you? What's to
Yes,
stop you?
it is.
And
It is
even
very. It is. Lisa, it is very inspiring, and especially in the Caribbean islands,
mm-hmm,
they are telling 55, 50-year olds that they are seniors, and I can't seem to wrap
child,
my mind around it.
I
And
can't imagine them telling me.
I really want to. I really wanted to put this story out that your life doesn't end at 50. Your life doesn't end at 60 or 70. As long as there's breath in you, you have a
Exactly.
purpose. And I wanted to just take this time to just talk to women, especially, and even Black women who feel like it's over for them. Come,
Yeah. Well, in my case, like I said, you always, there goes that selfishness because, and even sometimes I have to ask other female pals, like, how do you balance being a nurturer and at the same time striving to push yourself to the next level in whatever goal that you're trying to achieve? Because you're going to feel like you're going to have feelings of guilt, like, okay, I got to help someone with their homework, but I really need to study my stuff because I have an exam coming up. Like, how do I balance that? And a lot of that is having a support system that can assist you, that can help you, having a tribe, family members, close friends that can help fill in the gap. I feel like that's very important. And to be honest with you, too, my kids see me, they have vocalized to me like, Mom, you have just inspired us. Like, my goodness, like you decided. Because the next thing I will tell you, when I went down to Ohio, because I didn't even broadcast it, because some of these things you feel like some people will sit in the front row of your life. They're not necessarily cheering for you, but they kind of want to see what, it's like a show. You're just a show. And like, let me see what she's gonna do. Like, let me see what she's gonna do now. This girl is always doing something, never satisfied, never can just keep still. Let me see. So they're not necessarily there to cheer you on. And so I had to say to myself, you know what? I don't want to be put in a position where I feel distraction, like this one is watching and saying, look at her, she failed, or she did this, or she did that. So when I first thought of the notion, I was very careful. I only told my immediate family. I said, I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but humor me. I think I'm going to go to flight school. I know, right? It sounds crazy, right? But I think that's what I'm going to do. So when the kids are done with school in June, like they was out from Friday, that Monday I was already in Ohio. So my family was just like, so when are you coming back? When I'm done. Well, when will you be done? Whenever I have my pilot's license. And that was the word that I said. When are you coming? When I'm done, and when I'm done. When is that? When I have my private pilot's license. Let me tell you something. When I passed the check ride, which check ride is essentially your road test in the sky with the FAA examiner. You're gonna have an oral exam first. That's like an hour, hour and a half. He asks you a lot of questions on aviation knowledge that you should know as a private pilot. And then if that is successful, you move on to the road test in the sky. So you get in the plane, you'll take off, he'll give you a series of commands like, okay, I need you to give me a steep turn 20 degrees, and you turn that plane, and the plane is turning, and you pass, and then he's like, okay, congratulations, you've earned your private. And you're like, yes. Let me tell you, it did not sink into me. Like, yes, I was happy and I was excited, like, I can't believe it, I finally did it. Even I had to talk to myself like, oh girl, you did it after all. And I know a lot of people's like, you actually pull this thing off. So
Yes.
that being said, it did not sink into me, not until I was sitting in the plane with my airplane seat ticket in hand, and I looked at it, and it said, I was going back home to New York or wherever I was going. And I was like, wow, you said you were not going home until you had your private pilot. And I never left. I stayed right there until it was done. Now I'm going home with it. So, it was a very big deal to come
Yes.
from immigrant parents, where my father left Jamaica at the tender age of, God, I can't remember, 20, 21 or so, come
Mm-hmm.
over, make a life, bring over his family. And here I am doing this. I just wish my grandmother was here to see it. I wish my aunt was here to see it. But, and then to hear my dad's like, you know what? You're like your grandmother, your grandmother. And I remember my grandmother got her driver's license here in the States late in life. You
Yeah.
know why? She was tired of waiting for her husband. She want to go to church. She's waiting. When she want to leave, she's waiting, or she want to stay longer because she's a woman. I swear, she opened the church, she closed the church. She's like, no, she didn't tell anybody. She went. I don't know if she was 60 something or 70 something. And people like, what are you really gonna do a driver's license? What do you need driver's like? She never say a word. So you know what she did? She tell people, when one day she makes sure she put down a license on the dresser, and people say, but wait, I want, like, what is this? You have driver's license?
Love it. I love it. I love it. You are a trailblazer, and I don't know where you got your confidence from and your resilience. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, first and foremost, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Amen.
Period. Period. So a lot of the times, you have it in your head, say, well, I can't do this, or I can't. Listen, there was many a moment where I'm flying around in the plane, and my stomach, start churning and fretting like, oh my goodness, I got to take this check ride. I'm nervous. And then I said to myself, imagine my friends is out here having the time of their life. They've gone to Jamaica, they sent picture we at the beach, and now we're here, and now we're traveling there. And what am I doing? Who sent me up here, huh? Who sent me up here to stress out myself? Then I talk back to myself. I said, me send me. Me send me up here. I don't know why, but me send me.
And if
And
I
this is where I
recall,
am.
you're telling me you did this during COVID or right
I
after.
did it no, it was during COVID. So you
Right.
remember COVID started somewhere, I don't know, January or March of 2020.
March 2019.
That's right. And guess what? My first lesson was July of 2020. I was in that plane. I got the license by October 2020. Then I was working on my instrument rating. And then I didn't get to finish, and Delta called me back to work. So right now, I am just trying to finish that up on in the plane, and my stomach is up so I can move into the commercial license. Not the
Yes.
commercial license, instructor license. I'm just gonna work my way back to the cockpit. I told people I'm gonna retire in the cockpit.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
The
I love
bottom line is time is still gonna pass. What are you gonna do with that valuable time that you have? You
Amen.
can say, you know what, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. Are you happy doing what you're doing? Do you feel like you can do more? Do you want to do more?
Hmm. Amen. Lisi, I am inspired by you. I am inspired by your journey and sacrifice. And I'm sure your children are proud of you. And I want to congratulate you. A big congratulations for achieving this goal at such a time like this. And I
Good.
want you to use this season to just session or minute to talk to women who are past age, they have had their children already, and they feel like it's over for them. They're even 40s and 30s and calling themselves old and it's over. Talk to them now.
Well, I will tell you now because I get those messages in my inbox. I get those messages on my inbox in Instagram. I will tell you again, it is not over. Who is the person that determines it's over? You have set yourself up to feel like it's over, but it's not. Like what are you doing now? Are you happy doing what you're doing now? Do you feel like there are other things that may interest you that you could be doing? Don't let anybody or anyone deter you. You alone should make that decision. If God leads you and you feel within your spirit saying, God, I would like to learn X, Y, and Z, or I want to try, there's nothing wrong with trying. And maybe you feel there are going to be some naysayers in the background, but then that's when you move in silence. That is what I did. I moved in silence. No one knew I was doing what I did until I pop out on social media. Hey guys, I got my private pilot license. What? Private pilot license? What? Everybody confused. If anybody can tell you anything about me, they will say, this girl, like I've had some people like, girl, you do too many things. You know how to do too many things. You should probably just narrow yourself down on one thing and one thing only. Or you're going to be a jack of all trades, a master of none. But what do you do when all of these trades that you have are generating income? What can you do? You can't say anything. You can't let anybody box you in. I've even had one friend said, the only way I can explain it, they're like, you're mad. And when I say you're mad, you're like a mad woman. Only a mad woman can take up so many different things, and everything she does, you're good at it. You succeed at this. You succeed at that. You take up all these things and you succeed, and you just do it so well that it's inspiring. It's just, people
That's
will be in awe.
inspiring. Yes, that's inspiring. And I wanted to tell us, what else do you do apart from flying over New York City and other places?
Flying over New York City. Okay,
What
so
else do you do?
I used to always joke around and say, you know what? I'm the Jamaican with 50 jobs. I'm the Jamaican with 50 jobs until one person, and they happen to be Jamaican as well, a Jamaican radio personality. She's like, you know what I figured out about you? She said, you don't have 50 jobs. You're just an artist that creates in different mediums. And I
Yes.
said, interesting that you say that. So I have a nail license. I love all things beauty related. So I have a nail license. I have an aesthetics license because I'm all about skincare. And
Wow.
then I do PMU brows. What else do I do? I used to sing in a reggae dancehall group, but of course, growing up singing in church, my grandma was like, "Sing for Jesus, sing for Jesus." So that is behind me. But I used to sing in a dancehall reggae group. So I have to laugh because sometimes I see Sister Marion. I say, Sister Marion Hall. I remember the days. It's like, ooh, see her backstage. They're gonna do a show, and then here we are. And then also I'm a flight attendant currently, so that keeps me grounded in the aviation. And then right now I'm just studying. So as fate would have it, I was just like, you know what? God give me so many skills and talents that I can use to help support myself because the price of the school went up, and I'm saying to myself, Lord, hear my cry. I don't know how I'm going to manage to finish. Well, let's just back that up. 2000, I was talking to you about the scholarship gala. I had applied for the scholarship at Sisters of the Sky. Let me tell you something. When they announced my name and said that I win,
Wow.
I said, my God, and I got a $5,000 scholarship.
Whoa.
I tell you, when I tell you I jump. I had to say, Lord, let me behave in these people's place. And they was just like, some of the pals like, girl, it's okay. You can praise him where you are, girl. We know when we know and we understand. Because when I tell you, I was like, oh,
And don't tell
thank
me.
you, Jesus.
Listen, and don't tell me that you did your hair too.
You know what? I'm glad that because my son comes home. He's like, Mom, I love what you did with your hair. I'm like, thank you, son. You're paying attention.
So you're a beautician as well.
Listen, I'm not even a cosmetologist. And people are like, why didn't you just get your cosmetology license? I'm like, I can't stand still one place that's cutting and doing this and that to other people's heads. But yes, I have every other license but cosmetology, which people are like, you should do that. I can make wigs. I color them, all kind of stuff. You
Yes.
name it.
First
So
time.
I had a black cake sale. That's what it is. Because again, that is a dying art. Black cake, finding good black cake is a dying art. So I went on my social media. I said, listen, guys, I need to raise money to pay for my flight school. So I am selling black cake for the holidays, order for Thanksgiving, order for Christmas. So right now, after I hang up with you, I have at least 10 cakes that I need to bake and get
Wow.
out so these people get their cakes in time for Thanksgiving.
Awesome. Awesome. Lisa, thank you.
You are
Thank you
so
for
welcome.
thank you for inspiring us as not only women, but I'm sure you're
Mm,
inspiring men as well.
mm.
And congratulations on your journey and continue to press forward. And is there anything you want to say to our audience before you leave?
Again, if there's things that you like, you can inspire other people. Like my son, he wants to be a pilot. Actually, he was my very first passenger when I went back to the flight school to move on to my next rating. I said, "Hey, I'm going to take you flying." Let me tell you, I will never forget the look that he had in his face as that plane started taking off. Just the two of us on the plane, soaring above the clouds. I have that on video, so I screenshot that picture, like the look he had in his face, and it was just like I've seen other people do it for their people who are in positions that can do it. Like I could say, you don't find minority parents usually able to pass that on to their kids, and that was also something that was a goal of mine after being up there in Ohio, because where we were, they also sold fuel. So the planes would pull up, the little kid would hop out, dad would show him how to do this or show him how to do that. They hop back in. Hence, their opportunities to fly planes and get exposed to these things in aviation, they're getting it at so much of an early age, where some of us, people of color, may be at a disadvantage. So I was very happy to share that moment with him, and he has never forgotten it. And I think, again, he said I have been his inspiration. So just to be able to take them up flying. Oh, my mother took me flying. My
Yeah,
mother let me fly the plane. You know, it's like Mr.
yes,
Charles, the landlord, said, "Give me a chance," and I
yes,
let him fly. I said, "Okay, just hold the setting." And he's used to playing flight simulators, so he kind of, it's important for our people,
yes,
for us to show other people and expose them, like young girls. Sisters of the Sky volunteer with them. They had an event in Dallas. 50 young ladies came out to the that Air Force Museum, and they were exposed. They were taken to air traffic control. They were supposed to get a discovery flight. They talked to other pilots, like consider careers that we're not well represented in, male
yes.
and female. So,
It's exciting to talk to you.
yep.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
And when you came on, I thought you were in your 30s. And I'm not just seriously. And I'm thinking because of your drive and your perspective on life, it
Mm,
gives you that youthfulness as well. And I just want to encourage our audience to just your mindset actually dictates how you look and feel and what you do. So,
exactly.
and
Exactly.
our mindsets come from the Lord and the Word, you know.
Hmm.
So yes,
And
thank
it's
you.
always a battle for the mind. That's another thing I tell my kids. When you're going through these moon stuff, it's a spiritual battle for the mind. And try
Yes,
to, you know what God said, everything that is good and lovely, think on these things.
yes,
You have to.
absolutely.
And in the times that we're living in, it can be so depressing and dark. But
Mm-hmm.
again, you think on the things that are good, the things that are lovely. Think on God and how much He loves you and your
Yes,
potential that He's put within you.
yes,
Expound on that.
yes. Thank you, Lisi. And
Right.
thank you to our audience for tuning in to Raw and Unedited Stories. Thank you. And everybody has a story. If you have a story to share, send us your information in the link below and we will reach out to you. Also, remember to subscribe, like, and share these wonderful stories. Have a phenomenal day.